Welcome into Fox Sports 102.9 Deep Fried Breaks, our Super Bowl preview. I am joined by Blake Bollinger, owner of Deep Fried Breaks. I use Super Bowl preview in quotation marks because, Blake, I'm not a all 22 guy. I'm not watching the film. I'm not going to break down Travis Kelce's route tree or anything like that. I don't know if you'd rather talk about that or not, but what do you think about just talking a little sports cards?
I mean, that works too, but I don't believe you. I know you're in there cutting up the film. Like, you could tell me just how important the loss of Eric Fisher is going to be to the Chiefs on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll just let everybody think that I'm in there doing that, but maybe not. So what we want to do a little bit different this time is there's a million places to go in and get the Super Bowl preview and the picks and
Right?
all that kind of stuff, but I'm really interested in the sports cards, we'll call it football cards aspect of it. So Blake,
Okay.
you're the owner of Deep Fried Breaks. Let's start with just kind of what's going on in sports cards. Why is there a boom right now? What's different than, back in the 80s when baseball cards were a big deal? Give us just kind of the intro to that.
It's insane. Yeah, I mean, the market is, I don't even know. Like, it changes daily. I mean, it's almost like the stock market at this point. It really is. Like, you don't know what's going up, what's going down. It's just, I mean, I don't know. So, like, the theme that I kind of keep coming back to and how it came back to where it was. So, I think everybody collected as a kid, and I know I did, and that's kind of how I got back into this as an adult. I found my old cards and was like, yeah, is this still a market? And so just kind of got into it that way, and it became a very slippery slope very quick. But so I think what's happening is you've got people around our age that collected as a kid or, maybe a little bit older and that kind of thing. And, America's most powerful drug right now is nostalgia, and everybody wants to recreate and all that, what they were doing when they were a kid. Well, the boom that you're seeing is people, around our age, 30s, 40s, that are finally coming into a little bit of wealth. They've got a full-time job. They've started saving a little bit. They've got a little bit of expendable money, and they're going back and they're like, hey, I see the sports card thing's trending again. Let's go back and look at that. And then they start kind of seeing it, and then they start kind of getting back on the, where they were as a kid. And again, it keeps coming back to nostalgia. And I mean, just so much like new people coming in every day. You've got, a lot of influencers are kind of keeping their head into it. A lot of money. Like, I mean, Gary Vee is a big one. He's a big entrepreneur. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Hey, Mark Cuban's involved a little bit.
Yeah, Cuban's in it. You see, I forget who it was the other day. Barstool's kind of, they're starting to get into it big, and so it's just, I don't know. You see, like, I'll use Saturday for an example. So Michael Jordan, a lot of people, that was their guy growing up. I know we're talking more football, but this is, basketball, just kind of a relatable comp. So he had 1986 Fleer basketball was like his rookie card. I know he debuted in '84, but they really weren't making basketball cards in '84. So Fleer did like a full set in '86, and that was his true rookie card. So there were two different PSA 10s, the PSA Professional Sports Authenticators. They're the guys that, you send them your cards, they'll look at it and say, all right, this one looks pretty good shape, and, it's not perfect, we'll give it a 9. They rate 1 through 10, and 10 being a perfect gem mint is what they call it. So there were two Michael Jordan gem mint PSA 10s that ended on auction Saturday night. Both of them at over $780,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So people are just, like I said, a little more expendable wealth coming into it, and people from the 80s and 90s, Michael Jordan was their guy. They're not making any more Michael Jordan rookie cards, obviously, and very few of them are going to be in that shape. So it's just, I think that's, that you're seeing the market explosion, just the new money that's coming in, really.
So, Blake, I don't have $780,000 to be throwing around, but it does interest me getting into the game. It's like I can buy a stock and I can spend, $1,000 on a stock for the year. Well, nobody
Right.
knows anything about the stock. It's just sitting in my,
Right.
on my website. But if I've spent $1,000 on, a Patrick Mahomes card or whatever, then it's like something I have and I can collect
Right.
it. I can show it off. It's almost like, the bourbon collections or the wine collections. Do you think that makes it appealing too?
I think so. I think so. I attended a industry summit last year, end of last year. It was a virtual thing, and I can't remember who said it, but one of the guys, one of the keynote speakers, said something that really stuck with me. It's like, Mac, used to, when somebody would have money and then invite you over to their house, they wanted to show you their nice painting, their their $500,000 piece of art, and now you got these 35-year-old venture capitalists who are, Silicon Valley money. They're coming into wealth. They don't care about art. They want to show you, like you said, their Patrick Mahomes graded rookie card or their, autographed card. So, yeah, I mean, and you were kind of talking about the stocks and shares of that. So, there's always been speculation of, what if you could buy stock in a player? And, it's hard to own a piece of a human being, but now you're kind of seeing, okay, well, you can own their trading cards and you can own their rookie cards. And I think that's kind of where another way this boom took off is, I dabble in the stock market too, like most do. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know everything there is to know about Tesla.
Right. But you feel pretty good knowing about, the Ricky Williams card from back in the day or whatever, because you remember watching him play and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I can watch on Sunday afternoons as Patrick Mahomes throws for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns. I can see him perform at a high level. I just have to take the word at Tesla. All this other stuff is doing what it's supposed to do. But I think that's part of it. It's just an ever-growing, always changing market, and it's pretty crazy to see the boom.
So let's get into deep fried breaks a little bit more. That is your business. First of all, tell us how you came up with the name. And second of all, just kind of tell us about your niche. What do you bring to the table? Why should somebody go through deep fried breaks to get into the card game?
Sure. So I got started, really got started in 2018. My parents were moving, I guess it was summer of 16. And, mom called and said, "Hey, I found all your old baseball cards. I'm just going to throw these out. I can't imagine you want these anymore." I was like, "No, don't do that. I got so much great stuff." I came home one weekend and was kind of going through some stuff and was very disappointed when I looked online to see what some of the stuff was selling for, just because.
I'm guessing they weren't PSA 10s, Blake.
No, the 90s is called the junk era because they were mass producing 500 million of the same exact card. It was like, hey, Kmart would call Topps and say, "Hey, we ran out of the Stadium Club, can you print some more?" And they're like, "Yeah, we'll have you a new order out in 2 weeks." So, they're mass producing, printing on the spot. So, I have people all the time, "Oh, I've got all my stuff from when I was a kid." I was like, unless you've got a Jordan rookie or something tucked away in there, it's probably not huge. But so that's kind of how I got back into it. And so breaks, the deep fried breaks part of it, the deep fried came from, it's Southern. I'm from Alabama, so kind of wanted to represent that Southern heritage and
leaning
more
into
Southern
it a little bit, yeah.
Right. That's something that's deep fried. So breaks is so what a break is, and it's I would take a box or a case of cards. So they sell it out. So we're on the football thing. So Panini Prism is kind of the go-to football card. It's like a Patrick Mahomes Panini Prism rookie card. PSA 10 is its own currency at this point. So that's Panini Prism is kind of the go-to. So what I would do is I would take a case of Panini Prism. So this year it's 12 boxes in a case. Each box they do autographs now and relic cards, which are like pieces of the jersey. That's kind of another way to get in. And they do all kind of parallels. So, you've got a base card that'll just be, the Patrick Mahomes, and you'll have all different colors and different variations of it. So one of them might be blue and it would be numbered to 99. So obviously it'd be more valuable because there are only 99 copies of it. So I would take a case and either do a pick your team or a random. So what I would do, I would take the case and I would divide it out based on, how much it costs, add some shipping and all that in. But so basically you're getting a share of the case for the team you collect, or in some cases random teams. So, if it's a pick your team, say we're doing 2020 Panini Prism. So obviously this year, a lot of good rookie quarterbacks, Tua, Herbert, Burrow. So the Chargers, Dolphins, Bengals are going to be your highest priced teams because you got the shot at hitting a Tua, Herbert, or a Burrow rookie or an auto or something like that. So, you would only pay X amount for a certain team. And then all the cards from that team after we're done. I'll sort them all up, and you get all of the. So say you have the Atlanta Falcons, you would get all the Falcons cards from the break that we're done. I rip it all live on YouTube, sell it out beforehand. I mean, it's a risk. I don't love the word gambling in it, but, a lot of people say it's a gamble. So you're paying X amount, and the idea is you pay a little on the front and you hit something huge, and, you quadruple your money on the back end, that kind of thing. So, we got, like I said, got started in about 2018, really going. Been doing it, I guess, almost 3 years now, and, just growing every day, so many new people, my whole thing is this customer service. There's so many breakers out there, and then there's a lot of great breakers, and I don't at all pretend that I'm the best. But, I'm big on customer service. I won't, if you shoot me a message, something like that, I want you to know that you'll be able to reach me. Some of these guys, they feel like a big company just because there's so many people, they're doing so many of these things that, if you had a problem, you feel like you were just kind of stuck with it because you wouldn't get in touch with them. So that's my thing. I want to help the guys, and honesty is another one too. I'm always honest about stuff. Like there's some stuff out there that's overpriced and garbage, and people are still pushing it off on people like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, no, I'm going to tell you up front, don't buy that and don't do this, So that's kind of my spiel, if you will. But yeah, that's who I am. This
might be an impossible question, Blake, but what percentage of people that are buying through Deep Fried Breaks, are collectors, and they're just kind of spending their own money to build a collection to show off,
right,
or for their kids? Or how many of them are a legit investor where they're trying to hit something big, spend $20 to buy a spot from you and then hope they get a $2,000 card?
Right. I'd say probably half and half, to be honest. Yeah, I think half and half is probably a fair number. Maybe 60-40 on the guys taking a chance front. But, I stick to a lot of pick your teams just because I want to give everybody the option to do it. The same thing, like I could take a case and run a random and split all teams different. So, yeah, you would get a shot at the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Bengals, but you would also, could possibly end up with like the Jaguars or the Jets or something. But I'd say probably 60-40 if we're being honest about it. And a lot of guys just stick to, like, if I do a lot more baseball, just because that's kind of where I got started as a kid and a little more familiar with it. But, definitely going more football now with all the market trends. But, like I had a lot of Braves fans just being from the South. So, there are a lot of guys that just exclusively buy in to pick your teams where they can get the Braves because they only want to collect Braves cards. But then I've got guys that only exclusively buy in the, random spots or high-end teams because they want a shot at something huge, even though they might not collect that person. They want to be able to turn around and sell it for a lot bigger profit than what they paid in.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So, Blake, let's transition a little bit to football cards in general and like currently right now. So, who's hot?
Yep.
Let's take out the Super Bowl people. We'll do Super Bowl at the end, excluding Chiefs and Bucks. Who's kind of the hot card right now in football cards?
Well, the go-to out of the non-Super Bowl contenders has got to be Justin Herbert. Rookie out of L.A., so he's playing in a huge market, with the Chargers. He, came on the scene, and, I mean, a lot of people, last year, leading up to it, I was adamant, like, hey, I like this kid. I think he's got the tools. He's a tall, guy, got a big arm in the right system. I think he could do well. I don't think anybody saw what was coming. I mean, I don't know, like, you get the Chargers GM and there's some truth serum, and I couldn't even say that he saw what he saw coming. But, yeah, I mean, he just came on the scene. He broke all the records, all the rookie records. He seems to be a personable guy, not at huge risks of, doing something dumb or crazy. And so that's where a lot of people are, they're just dumping money into Herbert because they just think, all right, this is going to be the guy, next 10 years outside of maybe Mahomes and Brady, or not Brady 10 years, but, outside of maybe Mahomes. And so Herbert's huge. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, is probably going to win the MVP. A lot of this stuff is performance-based. So I think, you search true, non-Super Bowl guys. Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, just because of the performance the year he had. Josh Allen, another one that's still kind of young guy up in Buffalo. As you can tell, it's a very quarterback-driven
That was
market.
my next question, Blake. I mean, is it super quarterback-driven? I mean, what else are we looking at there?
Yeah, I mean, it is, and there's no way around it. I mean, you've got. I mean, it's hard to really put a price. You know, I don't want to say quarterbacks are 10 times more valuable than anything, but I mean, it's like in real football. I mean, you look at the contract. If you don't have a quarterback, you're screwed. You know, for a lot of people will tell you. But you know, so a lot of guys are kind of speculating on that. They spend a lot on the quarterback. You know, you've got some of the high end guys. DK Metcalf's a guy in Seattle, you know, still very young. A lot of people think he's just kind of scratching the surface of his potential. So a lot of people are speculating on him, dumping a lot of money into him. Think that he could be special because him and Russ could work together well. But yeah, I mean, if you want value in the most expensive cards, like I was just kind of on eBay this morning looking around, like the first 10 pages of, you know, most expensive football cards over the last 60 days. I think like I saw a handful of non-quarterbacks, and those were just crazy one-of-one rookie autographs of, like I saw Josh Jacobs in there, but it was like an absurd, you know, one-of-one rookie auto. Yeah, I mean, it's quarterback heavy, that's for sure.
So let me transition a little bit to kind of the unknowns. You know, if you're out looking, or maybe you are looking for yourself, what are some players out there you think maybe they're a little undervalued? Their card's undervalued right now. You could see in a couple of years, or maybe even just after a game or two, could really blow up.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned the game or two thing. That is kind of the crazy thing, especially with football, because all eyes are on, you know, an NFL Sunday. If you're a sports fan, you're probably sitting at home, you know, maybe the red zone, or you got the Sunday ticket or whatever. You're watching football. So this stuff, I mean, somebody could score a touchdown and his price is spiked by, you know, 50%. But I think some of the guys that you kind of, some of the unknowns. So again, kind of going back to the quarterback thing, it's a quarterback-driven league and it's a quarterback-driven card market. One thing that I've kind of got my eye on, there's two places, and it's so hard to speculate what's going to happen, but if you look at New England and you look at Indianapolis, you know, Cam's probably not coming back to New England. I think everybody kind of realized at the end of the year we're moving on from that. And Indy, obviously, Phillip Rivers retired, and so he's actually coaching down in South Alabama. But those are two places, both relatively big market teams, both probably ready to win if the right guy comes in. So if you're able to kind of figure out who the guy there is going to be, then, you know, that I think there's some money to be made there. There's some you know, prospecting to do, if you will. You know, is it Brissett in Indy? Is he the guy that steps up? Is it Stidham in New England? You know, those guys could both, if they were named week one starters and do anything week one, could see a monumental rise in their value in terms of the card market. You know, some other guys, a similar situation in New Orleans. Is Jameis Winston the guy? And I don't know that I would put much faith or much value in Jameis Winston, but, you know, his stuff is super low, and, you know, you could speculate, and maybe Sean Payton fixes some things down there, and you could get lucky there.
If you had to take a chance on either of the quarterbacks down in New Orleans, which one would Taysom Hill or Jameis? What are you thinking?
So Hill saw a big rise last year. You know, he was named the starter. He's fun to watch, and I think that all 20 or all 31 teams, all 31 other teams outside of New Orleans, they would sign up for a Taysom Hill. You know, they would take a guy like that who's kind of a jack of all trades but master of none, in my opinion. You know, if he's named the week one starter, I'm not dumping any money into his cards. I don't trust that he could be a sustainable, throw the ball down the field. And a lot of the stuff too is you got to win, you know, come January and in December, end of December. You got to be in the playoffs. You got to at least be in the conversation, unless you're a rookie. Like, again, Herbert wasn't in the conversation, but the idea is, okay, they found the guy, they're going to build around him, they'll be there. I don't know that Hill would be a guy. So, I mean, if you had to dump into one of the two, I'd probably go Jameis. But again, there's no really way to know if he's the guy. But, you know, you talk about low, and you want to talk about some of these rookie quarterbacks. You know, we hit on Herbert being where he is. I think there's an outstanding market available for Tua and Joe Burrow. And obviously, you know, I'm an Alabama guy, so the Tua thing is a little biased, and some people just can write him off after 8 games and say he doesn't have it, he's not going to be the guy. And his prices kind of reflected that. I've actually been buying a lot, which, some of it's for personal, but some hopefully, thinking maybe they realized that Chan Gailey wasn't the best offensive coordinator and they didn't have the best weapons. I mean, the guy probably had better weapons at Alabama than he did in Miami last year. And so I think that's an option. And Burrow's another guy. He got hurt probably week 7 or so, week 8. And he was on pace. He might have broken all the records that Herbert broke. But he got hurt. He's not Lamar. He's not Kyler Murray. So I'm not as concerned with his knee injury. If it was one of those two guys, I'd be a little more worried just because they use their legs. I mean, Burrow can use his legs. He can always escape pressure, but he doesn't. He's more reliant on his arm. So I think that with the weapons he has, hopefully they build an offensive line, do something to protect him a little bit more. I think he's another guy that could, his prices back in, September were crazy, but now that he's gotten hurt and people have kind of forgotten about him, it's all Herbert mania right now, that you could really, there's some value there, I think, as well.
So on the flip side, Blake, who are some guys that you think maybe a little overvalued right now? And if you could dump them for a price, if you could flip them and unload them, get rid of them, you would, whether it be some situation coming up, like maybe losing a job, or maybe they're going to go to a team that you don't think is great.
Right.
I kind of wanted to throw out the Deshaun Watson thing. I was curious what you think about his situation is right now, but Deshaun Watson, and who are some guys you think are a little overvalued right now you would sell?
Watson was a guy that I actually had written down because I wanted to hit on that. Who knows? I mean, Houston's adamant they're not trading him. I think Deshaun Watson is a top 5 guy in the league. So his value hasn't really tanked because people don't really know. People are afraid to sell because he might end up in like New England or Indianapolis. Talked about. So his stuff is kind of actually steady. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't sell it if I had to right now. I've got a few Deshaun Watsons, but just because you'd have no idea. Like, I don't want to do it. You risk holding it and him getting traded to like New York or somewhere, the Jets, and there's still nothing around him. But I would be afraid that, because if he stays there, I think they can still do something. I don't know. And I don't know how long he's going to be there. Rodgers is a guy that we kind of hit on earlier, being hot. He was awesome this year. Like, don't get me wrong. He's going to win the MVP. But it's just, how much longer does he have at that level? And the Love thing, Jordan Love, they drafted him in the first round. And I know that you don't push a guy out who just had an MVP season, but most people, they spend first rounders on guys they want to play. They want to see the field. So I think maybe another year in Green Bay. I think I was listening the other day, the money works out to where he could, come off the books next year with no cap hit. So I don't know. I think that's one that obviously when he retires and gets inducted to Canton and all that, his market's gonna rise. But unless he wins another Super Bowl, I think his market's kind of plateaued. So if I was holding any Aaron Rodgers, like really nice stuff, I don't know that I wouldn't be dumping it right now just because of what his potential is going forward. If he does win another Super Bowl, that completely changes everything. But how realistic is that? So I think that's a guy. I like Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is great. Very good. I don't want to go great. I mean, I still think there's some arm accuracy issues. But he's a gamer. I mean, he's a guy that you got to be worried about. He's not, again, going back, he's not Kyler Murray, but he can get you a first down on 3rd and 8 if he needs to with his legs. He's a little more effective than most think, but what's his ceiling? Like, is he going to win a Super Bowl? Is Josh Allen ever going to win a Super Bowl as starting quarterback? I don't know. I think Buffalo kind of hit.
So you think he has a ceiling? You think Josh Allen's value as like a card, you think that has a ceiling based on maybe he's not a Super Bowl winning or an MVP caliber quarterback?
Right. I mean, I think he's probably going to finish top 5 MVP voting this year. But I think a lot of that was Diggs. I think, I don't know. I think that his ceiling as a quarterback is what it is. He might can get a little better. How much better, I don't know. And so, I mean, I think the card market directly affects that. I mean, I think if he were to win a Super Bowl, obviously it changes everything. But I think they got a little lucky with New England the whole Tom Brady thing, that's too good of an organization. Say what you will about the Belichick-Brady thing. Belichick's still an incredible coach, maybe the greatest ever. They're going to figure some things out up there, and they're not going to be 7-9 for the next 10 years. So I think, and with a division like that, I like what Miami's building. Again, I go back to the Tua thing. I am a homer, but I've seen some stuff at other kids that I think he makes some throws that not many people on this planet can make. And hopefully Miami kind of opens it up and gives them the opportunity to do that. And they're building a lot around him too. If they get some weapons on the outside, I think I think that's Allen's another guy that, again, I'm not saying he's plateaued, but his stuff is at a huge, huge, market right now. And I just don't know if he comes out next year and they go 9-7, 10-6, and lose in the wild card game. You're probably wishing you would have sold at the end of 2020 or right now instead of then, because I think it could go down.
Let's move into the Super Bowl. We got it coming up this Sunday, and since this is our Super Bowl preview, let's talk a little bit about those two teams, those two quarterbacks, and how the result of the Super Bowl could affect the card market for either one of them.
Yeah. So these are the guys, you were talking about earlier, who are these two guys? And you said save the Super Bowl stuff. So it's hard to have a conversation about who the hottest card guys are, without Mahomes and Brady. It's just, Brady's widely considered the GOAT, the greatest of all time. It's hard to discount that many Super Bowls. If he wins, he'll have more Super Bowl wins than any other franchise in the NFL. So that's,
So what's a Brady rookie card going for right now? The best of the best, the 10, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's so many different ones. Tens of thousands of dollars as a 10. But Mahomes is kind of, this stuff is. So, all right, the last PSA 10 Bowman was 2000 Tom Brady Bowman rookie card, which is widely considered true. There were two this week, one at $13,000, one at $12,000. So if you do have those floating around from the 2000s, go dig those up, get them to PSA, and regardless, Bowman Chrome sold for $21,000 on Monday. So yeah, those are the market. The Mahomes. So I was saying that I kind of went through eBay this morning just to see some sold stuff, and the first 5 pages, I think, are all Patrick Mahomes cards. Just because, so the print run in 2000 was a little higher, but it is an older card. Like the Panini Prism Patrick Mahomes stuff is just, it's out of this world. It's only going to go up, and it's so speculative right now because, you kind of think, okay, yeah, he might win a second on Sunday, but how many more can he get if he were to get one on Sunday? Brady, kind of going back to that, the market on that was insane. So I've got a buddy of mine, he's a lot bigger into this, or, has been into this a little longer than I have. And he's actually just started a new podcast with a Ringer. We were talking about it. He's a big Brady guy from Boston. And he said, I thought that his market had kind of hit what it was going to hit. I had some really nice stuff just because I was a huge fan, but I didn't think that, I didn't think it could go up because he had won 5. And then he said, or 4 at the time, he said when he came back on Atlanta, down 28-3, he said that there was, and I wasn't as big in the football thing at that time. He said that there was about 100 to 200% rise that night on stuff. Just because they were like, oh, wow, he came back from that deficit. He still got a little bit left in the tank. He might get a couple more. And, some people were right on that. And it kind of after the AFC Championship, or the NFC Championship, when he went to Green Bay, beat Rodgers, you saw another 50 to 75% spike on some of his older rookie stuff just because people couldn't believe, he went and did it. And they're like, all right, I got to get this because if he does win the Super Bowl, then it might double. It's crazy how, these markets change like that. But those two guys, I hit on it earlier, you're basically printing money if you're holding anything with Mahomes or Brady and a PSA 10.
So if you're getting away from the two quarterbacks, maybe something that the everyday Joe can afford. Are there any players coming up in this game that you think could maybe have an impact? I don't know what a Kelsey or a Tyreek Hill cost, or an Antonio
Well,
Brown if you want to make a run at it. Is anything out there?
I think the guy that's the most undervalued, and he's still a little high, but he's not crazy, is Gronk. I don't know how much he's got left. I mean, we've watched him this year. We can all tell he's a little slower. He's not the Gronk of 2014-15, but you said greatest tight end ever. Is he not the guy? I mean, you could debate Tony Gonzalez or, maybe Antonio Gates could be thrown in the conversation, but I think most football guys would tell you Gronk's, he's the best tight end of all time. It's not a premium position like quarterback, but I think that there's he's probably going to play another year in Tampa, and then I think he probably calls it quits. So I think there's some value to get, if you find a nice Rob Gronkowski Buccaneers card. I kind of went down that rabbit hole a little earlier in the year. I thought, when this is all said and done, he's going to be the guy. So I, got some cheaper stuff and sent it up to PSA. Still waiting on it to come back. I think there's some, a little bit of a market there. Reek, you hit on, and Kelsey. Those two dudes are incredible. There's some value. You got to. The main thing is just, obviously you got to be great. You're marketable. Tyreek Hill got some stuff in his past, but you still, everybody knows who Tyreek Hill is. Travis Kelce's another.
Blake, let me ask you, what's the effect when Tyreek Hill pushes a coach on the sideline? Does his card value go up or down?
Well, that kind of stuff, yeah. You don't see like a huge bump in that. If it were a real thing and they kind of got into it and it became an ongoing story, I think it'd be, you'd see a little bit of a dip just because people are like, all right, well, obviously this guy's getting shipped out of town at the end of the year and his prices are going to go down just because he's not on the Super Bowl winners anymore. But I don't think there's a huge, stuff like that. Obviously off the field, you get into some terrible, like actual, bad, some domestic abuse that, unfortunately we see pop up in the NFL from time to time, in other leagues, of course, too. But now, obviously that kind of stuff, plummets the market. You got to just hope you're not, and that's another thing, we kind of hit on with Herbert. You got to look at guys who don't really have anything in their past. I think Baker Mayfield is kind of a guy that comes to mind when he's the number one overall pick. I think people were a little reluctant at first just because he had some prior stuff. I don't think he was anything huge, but I'm not getting, I'm not here to debate right and wrong. I'm just, I think people were a little speculative on that just because he did have some stuff in his past. So I think that helped. I mean, you gotta be a likable and marketable guy. Say what you will about Brady. Some people don't love him, but I mean, maybe the Deflategate thing, again, say what you will there. Off the field, the guy's pretty clean. He's married to a supermodel. He's a good-looking dude, let's be honest. Your wife wouldn't mind looking at your Tom Brady cards when she,
So not in the man cave. You need to put the cards somewhere where the wife can see them.
Right. No, you put that one maybe on the kitchen, or not the kitchen table, but the hall table, and when you come in the house, that kind of thing. Let her see it every now and then. That's how you get by with making expensive Tom Brady purchases. Same with the Gronkowski in my household. That one works well there.
All right, Blake. So before I let you get out of here, I do want a Super Bowl pick. So as a card point of view, are you thinking about going heavier into Tom Brady if you had the cash, or are you a Mahomes guy? What are you thinking the result of the game? What's it going to do?
I don't know. I mean, I know that's not the right answer, or the answer you're looking for. I've kind of been back and forth on it. I think that the Chiefs are definitely the better team overall. I think Mahomes, his arm talent is unlike anything we've ever seen. But, God, it's hard to bet against Tom Brady. It's hard to go against that guy.
Well, let me ask you this, Blake. Is there a potential for a bigger spike, or are they kind of equal? If Brady wins it, does he get a bigger spike than Mahomes would if he wins it because he has more to do in his career?
I think if Brady wins, you see a 50 to 75% spike on his stuff. I think if Mahomes wins, you see a 25% spike on his stuff, just because, he's kind of beginning of the year, I think the Chiefs were the betting favorite. I think the Bucks were fifth or sixth, maybe, when they, after they got Brady. But no one really thought they were going to be there, especially after the first couple of weeks of the season when, after week one and that loss down in New Orleans, it came out about Arians and Brady, were they really getting along and all that stuff. So I think, Mahomes is supposed to be there. Mahomes is supposed to win, so if he wins, you'll see a spike just because he's 25 years old and will have 2 Super Bowls. And more than likely, if he wins 2 Super Bowl MVPs and a regular season MVP. But if Brady wins, that's 7. And I don't know that anyone touches that ever.
It sounds to me like you're a sports gambling guy. I would take the Chiefs if I was just in the card market and looking at value and I had the cash to throw around, and maybe more Tom Brady.
Right. I think you're onto something there. I think you got more room for growth with Brady, but you're just picking teams to win. Kind of. I don't know. I mean, but I keep coming back to it. It's hard to bet against number 12 in pewter now. It used to be number 12 in blue, but. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I like what that was. The point there. You got more of a market to capitalize on if Brady wins, but Chiefs are probably the right call on team to actually win.
So before I let you get out of here, Blake, kind of what's next for Deep Fried Breaks? What are you getting into? Is there any area you're growing a little bit more? What do you think people should join you doing?
Yeah, we're doing more and more football, more and more. I'll tell you what we did the other day. It's just some fun stuff. So I got a box of 1996 NBA Series 2, which is the Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, and Ray Allen rookies.
I saw your picture on social media there. That was incredible.
Yeah, obviously, the Kobe market, unfortunately, is terrible. I still can't believe that he's not with us anymore, but, his market is crazy. And so, we hit, I took the box. It's about a $3,000 box, single box, and I had 36 packs, and it's what I did. I sold out each pack, individually, and I kind of, randomed it up or shuffled the packs a little bit, trying to be as careful as I could. And so people were paying, per pack, and so I opened them all live, so you knew what you were getting at the time, and we ended up hitting, 4 rookie Kobe Bryants, 4 Allen Iverson rookies, like this NBA 50th silver parallel of the Kobe rookie, which the last PSA 10 in that did 14,000. I don't know that it'll 10 just because it had a little bit of a surface issue, but so that's another thing that, a lot of guys seem to really enjoy there. So I think this is going to be something we kind of head into, just some older stuff, because, they're not making any more of it. Stuff's only going up by the day. So I think that's something we kind of keep doing because good shot at hitting some nice rookies, and the condition should be pretty good because it's right out of the box, right out of the pack. So I think that's something to look forward to, and just keeping up with the baseball, football, whatever's hot, we're going to be ripping it.
So tell everybody where to find you. What's the best way to get in touch with Deep Fried Breaks and follow what you guys are doing?
Absolutely, we're all over the internet. Twitter, Facebook. We're on Instagram. I've been on Reddit at times. I run everything through my website, deepfriedbreaks.com. Usually I post breaks. Some stuff that goes really quick, like that stuff the other day. There was only 36 packs. I think it sold out in like 6 minutes. But we're at deepfriedbreaks.com. I don't say that. I always kind of try to point people to Twitter just because that's where I'm the most active at Deep Fried Breaks. You've got, I'll be talking about what we got coming up, kind of giving everybody when it'll post and that kind of thing. Because, there are times if you just go to the website, there might not be anything up. And so you might, what's going on here? So, Twitter. And reach out, tell me you heard me from here, and we'll get you a little discount code going.
Hey, that sounds good. We appreciate you joining us. I think it was a good way to kind of get everybody an intro into the sports card business, and then talk a little Super Bowl that's not all 22. And, man, if Chris Jones can control the A and B gap, then I think, my goodness, the Chiefs have it.
I mean, you got SportsCenter for all that, and, as we come here, kind of the side preview.
So Fox Sports 102.9 listeners, y'all be listening when we get our local show going in the next couple months. Blake's going to be a big part of that, keeping us updated on anything that happens. So, Blake, next time something big happens in the car business, you give us a call and we'll get you back on, all right?
All right. Thank you, Alex. And thank you guys for tuning in and keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Blake.